Hey, it's Tom from Reaction Therapy Unplugged. Is that it? Is that right?
Yeah.
Getting this messed up. Okay. Hey, it's Tom from Reaction Therapy Unplugged with another episode of the RT Hotline. This is your chance to send us a story about your life. It could be something you're struggling with, something you've overcome, something you're worried about or have anxiety about, or some kind of question you have about what you've been through. You get to send that to us. I get to read it live right here and then respond to what it is. It's like a real-time reaction to your story. So send those over if you get a chance. So you can email Nick, and his email address is nick@reactiontherapy.us. You can also direct message us on Instagram, or you can call our hotline at 281-493-4499. Remember, that is not for emergencies. That is just for your story. You leave it on the machine. Tell us your story. We will read it out. Can't wait to hear from you. Now it's time to start today's episode of RT Hotline. Hello, I am 16 years old, studying in school, and I'm in 11th grade. Remember, a lot of these stories that get sent in, Nick and Tony will reduce, shrink down, and de-identify so that we don't know people. We don't tell where you're from, we don't tell your names or any of that stuff, so we'll make it to where anybody could hear it. But basically, 16-year-old in 11th grade. Everything started like 4 months ago. It was a normal day, but turned into a bad day. Someone scammed me on my video game, which I'd paid $50 for. Not fun for a 16-year-old, by the way, who typically don't have much money anyway, and somebody scams you out of $50 for a video game. He stole my account. I tried to get it back, but there was no help. I became a bit nervous and anxious. My breath became faster and deeper, and it felt like my heart was getting heavier. One of the interesting things about anxiety is that it can creep up at moments we don't expect it. And so this is a story as simple as it sounds, like, gosh, it's $50. It's a video game. You're in high school. It's not that big a deal is what a lot of people might say. The reality is, though, a lot of people can feel out of control, which triggers the anxiety. Like, I have been violated or robbed or taken advantage of, and it's a very helpless feeling. It can sink your stomach. Your heart rate can rapidly increase, and you can get a lot of anxiety from it. So it's important to know, even in what we perceive as maybe smaller things, a lot of anxiety can still come out of it. After that, I turned off my computer and went to tell my mom, and she gave me some pills to calm me down. Not sure what kind of pills those were, but hopefully they were like just some melatonin, maybe a little aspirin for a headache. But the way that sounded just didn't really come out right. They did not help. And I felt scared that something else was wrong. I was scared to be alone. Everything was worse at night. This is so often the case. You take something and you hope that this is going to work, and then it doesn't work. Then the panic actually elevates. Night is worse. Remember, we talked about this, because going to bed and waking up are our most vulnerable times of the day. So especially when we're going to bed, because we're settling in, we're trying to go to sleep. And if we want to keep ourselves from being really vulnerable or feeling real feelings, we will stay in that panic state. So that's what's happening here. The anxiety just intensifies always. That's why I advocate for people to have a steady bedtime routine. Don't just go straight to bed with your phone, try to turn it off while you're in bed, and then try to fall asleep or watch a show or a movie or something. Try to get yourself to shut off the phone and all electronics an hour before bed. Drink some water. Sit in a dark, quiet place, maybe listening to calm music or none, but just lay down and rest before you actually get into bed. It can help a lot. And if not, then get up and walk around for a little bit. So everything was worse at night. I was more anxious at night, and I don't know why. I kept trying to forget those feelings, and I think it was working a little. But one night I had a bad dream, and when I woke up, all of those feelings came back. This is the so-called PTSD or trauma trigger that happens. So we can start to get better, and then something happens and it reminds us of that past thing. So like I said, you could have a car accident and there was a song on the radio when you got in the car accident. And it was a scary thing, but you made it through. 6 months later, you can hear that song and it will bring you back to remember that car accident and the feelings that you have in your body. So that's what's happening here. things get a little bit better, and then all of a sudden there's a bad dream, and it's like, here we are, I'm right back in it again. But you're not really back in it. So the vulnerability at night is what you need to deal with to settle things down, and also knowing that just because you have a bad dream doesn't mean it's all starting over again. Because everything was worse at night, I would stay up and wait until morning to sleep, which again messes with the chemistry of your body and your brain and all that stuff. I did this for about a month. I have daily dreams, and that also stresses me out. And now I'm afraid to sleep because I don't want those bad dreams to pop back up in my mind. It's understandable. I don't want to feel like this anymore. This is hard to write because I'm remembering how good things were before this happened. Thanks. Much love. Much love to you. Thank you for submitting this and for sharing this story that so many people have. You don't have to have the most horrific, tragic situation happen to deal with anxiety, panic attacks, or stress, especially when you remember things were good. You know, so many people come into my office and they're like, things were good before this. So what I like to do is go back to when things are good. Remember, I talked about EMDR. I've talked about bilateral stimulation, tapping on both sides of the body alternately like that. Go on walks, which tap your feet. Let the stress out. Think about what's stressful, but really knowing that if you've had it good before, you can have it good again. Sometimes it requires getting help, maybe calling and getting a therapist. Sometimes use a resource like we have in our links where there's free resources of mental health therapy. Sometimes it's just seeing somebody you love that's a mentor, that's somebody you can talk things out with. The key to it, though, is if you're going to think about the stressful, anxious things, spend as many minutes doing that as you do with the non-stressful good times that used to happen. So if you stress out for 10 minutes, make yourself remember the good times for 10 minutes, and you'd be shocked how much that helps, because that positive thinking, that focus on when things are good, that relaxing your body, deep breathing can really help. This is a great story for everybody to relate to. Ooh.
And then just end it by saying that was another episode of RT Hotline. If you want to submit, and then just kind of reiterate how you do that.
Always love doing these episodes of RT Hotline and hearing your stories. Remember, if you want to send your story in, please do. You can direct message us on Instagram. You can call the number 281-493-4499 and leave a voicemail, or you can email. Send it to nick@reactiontherapy.us. And stay tuned for the next episode of RT Hotline.
Awesome.
Man, I'm getting good at this.